GreedFall, developed by Spiders and released on September 10th, 2019. It's an RPG. It's not the greatest, however, I still enjoyed it. I played it with the development team size in mind. Spiders is a small studio. I don't even know if the game can be named a AA. It's more like a premium indie. I'm not entirely sure about how to call it. It doesn't matter that much. However, echoes of strict resources can be seen in the game. Entire buildings copied and pasted in each city, with just the insides changed a bit, but it can also grasp with its beauty, and still has voiceover lines for every dialogue in the game. On the surface, the game can look like it tries to explore the ideas of how colonization works and what are the consequences of it, and while it's true, the game's also a great exploration of different aspects of greed. I really enjoyed how the game managed to show distinct ways how greed can manifest itself. I played the game in 2024 with DLC, some bonus items and a general graphic update made in 2021. With all this in mind, let's begin.
Could you stand a little taller, just a tad?
Like this?
Yes. The chin a tiny bit lower. Gaze a little more to the right. There! Now, hold the pose.
Game starts with character creation, and I enjoy that the process is made in physical space with context rather than in an endless void. Here we model for a portrait, which unfortunately will never be finished. An interruption in the process happens. Our cousin Constantine is missing. We are tasked with his job of notifying representatives of other nations of our urgent departure. I like this. Having only part of our character solidified on the canvas opens the possibility of becoming someone different. It's not completely set in stone who the Verdyh, our character, truly is. Change of heart is a very important part of stories told in the game. With character created, we leave the distressed artist to bid our mother farewell. Before we can reach her door, however, our master at arms catches us to introduce the basics of combat.
Cut.
And so the day has finally come. My royal fledglings are leaving the nest.
Accompanied by their most loyal and tenacious master of arms.
As loyal as your gold.
Oh, enough with the cold mercenary. I know you like us. Still hiding your men in the unsuspecting shadows of the greats of this world, I see.
Hey, our blades are the only thing keeping you dainties alive.
Ha! Kurt! I'm not in need of your protection. I'm no longer a child, you know.
Is that so? Well, let's see. Fight with honor!
It's a rather simple system. You have swords and maces acting as melee weapons and magic rings that shoot enemies with missiles. With each one of those weapons, you can use the same set of attacks: standard, alternative, and special attacks which require rage. You can also use firearms, which will consume ammo, making them a very inefficient but powerful option to deal with enemies. You can also dodge and parry, and if you time your parry correctly, you will counterattack, making it worth taking the risk. I'm kidding. There's no risk involved. If you miss your parry, you will most likely still block the attack. And you can also block everything there is. You will fall to the ground, but you won't take any damage. The biggest balancing problem is that the dodge is just a very inferior way of negating damage, and there are 4 reasons for this. First of all, distance is not a real thing in GreedFall. Characters fly towards their targets during attacks, so just extending the distance with dodge doesn't change much. The second problem is that dodging doesn't absorb the attack, it only makes it not connect, and some magic attacks will follow you for quite a long time. You either spend a lot of time dodging, or you just let the projectile reach you so you can block it and continue to actually fight. Next are attack animations. You will very often have to preemptively block or dodge some enemies, even if they are not even aimed at you. Sometimes an enemy will change the targets in the middle of the animation. Other times, the enemy will get stuck behind another enemy, making it impossible for them to reach you. But it's still possible that his path will clear and he'll fly towards you to smash your face. So, you'll have to do something about the incoming attack anyway, sometimes missing your action in the process. But wait, you can miss both dodge and parry. Why I'm saying this as an argument only against the dodge? It's because of how safe it is to whiff your action. Miss a block, and even after half a second, an attack will still be blocked. Miss a dodge, and after half a second, your face will get smashed. It's not a matter of always blocking with block and never dodging with dodge, but it is a substantial difference, enough to make it safer to just whiff your block. Finally, you cannot win anything with dodge. You can, however, perfectly block, dealing some damage as well as throwing the enemy. Even a normal block will still reward you with some rage. You almost don't risk anything by blocking, and yet it's the only way you can also win something when you perform it very well. It's just a superior mechanic. If you don't abuse the game, that is. After the introduction to combat, we go to bid our mother farewell.
What is this? Have you not been taught to knock? I've asked 1,000 times. Oh, it's you, my dear child.
Mother, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble getting used to your condition.
Come now, let's speak of more pleasant things. I'm so very happy to hear your voice. You remind me so much of your father. I do miss him so. Today is the big day, isn't it? Ready to set sail for that island everyone's talking about.
Yes, but the idea of leaving you behind, alone and ill...
Dying, my child. Alas, there is nothing you can do by staying that would ease my suffering. One thing brings me cheer. They say the island is full of miracles, and we might find a cure.
Even if I were to find it, I would never be able to return in time to...
I know. But it brings me comfort to know my son has left on a mission to heal his people. Come now. It is time for you to take leave. Here, take this with you.
What is it?
A family heirloom. Something that... Take it and keep it with you. May it bring you good luck. All my blessings go with you, my child. Now, be off.
Our mother suffers from Malicor, a widespread disease, just as painful as it is lethal. Although our mother doesn't show it, we can later read diaries of people afflicted with it. My pains are getting stronger and stronger. My guts are churning. It's getting harder and harder for me to run the shop. Some evenings I can't even feel my legs anymore. It's as though they've turned to ice. Today I had so little strength that I couldn't even cross the road to get to my shop. All that's left for me to do is to drag myself to the little dispensary they installed behind the barracks and hope they can ease my suffering. There's nothing we can do. There's no remedy discovered yet. That's the mission of Tier 3D expedition, to find cure that could heal our people. So, we have to leave our mother behind. The cutscene ends with us closing the door as our mother looks through the window. Just like us, she's ready to depart. A worn-out coin, a family heirloom, her last gift to us. I will come back to this sequence later, as the context behind it will change a bit as we learn more about our character's story. We meet up with Kurt, and he has a problem. Merchants don't want to deliver goods despite being already paid. Since we are a legate, a senior diplomat, he asks us to talk to them in his stead. We agree, he joins our party, and we make our way through the city. Serene is a husk of a city, stripped of its former glory by the Malicor. Streets filled with diseased bodies of whom are right at stakes all around the city. If you somehow resist the illness, it's the ruffians that make sure you stand in front of your makers. They rule the bakeries and occupy rummaged houses. This place is a concrete graveyard in which the only remnants of nature are a stagnant river and dried up vegetation. While the presentation of the city is top-notch, the exploration that would allow the player to experience that is not. Lootable stuff is everywhere, and even though the crate insides are worth less than the box itself, it still feels bad to walk past it. This makes you explore the city with the camera pointed at the ground. Being able to observe only the pavement below your feet, it's hard to grasp the beauty and the details of the location you tread through. Map filled with question marks also do not enrich exploration. Each new location looks more like a checklist on a guided tour than an actual exotic wilderness awaiting a brave explorer. As we move through the city, we visit ambassadors of both the Leme and Breach Alliance. The former is a religious faction. They specialize in light magic, which was taught to them by their founder, Saint Matthias, and they are in a prolonged war against the latter. Bridge Alliance, which is a very scientific nation, created by unification of several nations in so-called Bridge region to better protect themselves versus over aggressive neighbors. They quickly became a powerhouse of knowledge, leading the world of science. Both representatives require our help, which we agree to lend, and we'll do that in a bit, after we manage to find Constantine. Thinking that he might have already reached the ship, we go there first and meet Captain Vasco, who is a part of the Nauts Guild. They are a sea guild, excellent navigators offering cargo space of their ships to other nations for a little bit of profit. They have their own main island on which they make their fleets, but overall they are not interested in colonization, they prefer to ride the waves. Vasco hasn't seen our cousin, as well as one of his crew members, and asks us to keep our ears open while we search. We can't really agree to that, but the side quest starts nonetheless. In fact, as a player we didn't really agree to any of those side quests, our character did without our prompt. So, the only lead we have right now is that our cousin was supposed to party. We walk to the nearby tavern. On our way to the establishment, we might spot something, a poorly written notice. To the family of the rich man who provoked us, we have him, and we will kill him if you don't pay us handsomely. Come, with a full purse to the alley south of the old warehouse district. Constantine was abducted, and we don't have to go through a lengthy process of questioning witnesses to learn that. It's a good quest design piece. Thugs don't kidnap for fun, they want to make a profit. So a ransom message is normal. I love it. But either I'm blind or this kind of quest design is never to be seen again in the future. Throughout the entire game, I cannot recollect this happening again even once. It's a shame.
If you had any idea who I am. Open up, imbeciles! I have a ship to catch!
Do you hear that?
Yes, that's Constantine's voice. It's coming from the upper floor. It sounds as if he's locked up.
And I have a feeling they're expecting company. Be careful. The slightest itchy word to these brutes will have them drawing blades to scratch it.
Negotiation may be the solution. As you say, this breed of brutes won't spit on ransom money.
What a waste. I'd rather sneak around them than give half a coin to these seedy fellows.
Rescue mission presents us with various ways to resolve the issue. We could fight our way through, but there are two new mechanics that we can use to get him out. First are environmental talent checks. In various places there will be talent gates that you can pass through if you have enough of the required talent. In this instance, you can blow up a wooden wall if you have enough science. Or talk to the orphans and tell them what happens to those that harm the prince's family if you have enough intuition. Other places in the world will require you to have enough vigor, lockpicking, and during various dialogues, charisma. Overall, it's a good system. It's always cool to do something that your character was made for. But, because those talents can be increased by companions and gear, it strips away the reward for sticking to one talent. I felt stupid that I put 3 points into vigor only to realize that I could just dress up differently, get a companion bonus and get through all vigor gates I wanted. You never have to sacrifice one type of reward for another. You don't have to accept that you specialize in lockpicking and that you'll never be able to climb a wall to reach a chest. Here, you spend 1 point on each talent, grab appropriate stuff, and you can reach everything. I'm also a bit sad that the game doesn't do anything extra with systems that it already has. There's no 5 points skill gate that requires you to invest 3 points and have that companion armor combo. The second new way that allows us to reach Constantine is stealth, and stealth is very functional. Once the enemy sees you, they start to walk to your location to check if they really saw you, and often they might follow you forever instead of noticing you like they should. And when you finally get spotted and load the game, you'll discover that the enemies suddenly don't move the same way. They might in fact not move at all. Loading can break the pathing of enemies, making it frustrating beyond belief. I've spent good amount of time in one place just loading a safe and checking guards if they finally loaded properly. Lastly, the system just looks funny at times. In one place, you have an entire squad of people follow you, and guards don't spot them. Thank God, obviously, but it still looks very funny when the guard trips over the prisoners and decides that it was just the wind. No matter which approach we choose, we rescue Constantine.
Well, this has been monumentous, gentlemen, but I have more important things to attend to. An island to govern, treaties to sign, riches to expedite, and a demanding father to impress! Constantine, it's me! My dear cousin! Oh, my lucky star! Always there to pull me out of my fight.
I do what I can. We're departing soon. Your father wasn't pleased by our absence this morning.
Have you ever seen him happy about anything when it comes to me? You know what he thinks of me.
He cares about you, I know that. He appointed you governor, didn't he?
He is ridding himself of a source of constant disappointment. Enough said. Today we set sail for adventure.
His parents are never happy with him, and he finds our friendship to be the most valuable thing in his life. That's also the reason why getting away from this place is such a pleasure to him. Both Constantine and our character are members of the Congregation of Merchants, which is said to be the most influential nation on the continent. Their economic power allows them to remain neutral despite having no army of their own. They rely on mercenaries such as the coin guards, who are muscles for hire. Kurt is one of them, a highly ranked one. For now, with the main quest on the continent finished, we can start tackling side quests, starting with Kurt's little problem with merchants. Despite being already paid, the merchants insist on a second payment. We are asked to retrieve the merchandise, one way
I'm certain we can come to an unofficial arrangement.
or another.
Stop!
But there's another issue. This cargo is not registered and cannot be loaded onto the ship. We have to tinker with the logs and then get the crates into the Nod's warehouse. First part introduces us to the infiltration system. We could sneak in, but we can also just dress up as one of the Nods and then just walk right inside. That's the mechanic pretty much. You wear the body armor of one of the factions and they think you belong to them. Hostiles will still be hostile, but you won't make new enemies when you tread in the wrong place. Overall, the only thought I have about that mechanic is why it's the Nods that are used as a tutorial for it. It's the only faction that requires their members to wear face tattoos. The game makes it very clear that they have those. This tutorial makes the least sense with them. Anyway, we added our shipment to the list. Now it's time for the guards. If our character allows us to, in the second part of the quest, we will learn how to craft. There are 3 parts to crafting: upgrading your equipment, crafting consumable items, and following quest recipes. Quest-related crafting throughout the game only requires 1 point in either craftsmanship or science, and those points can be simply gained by equipping a specific armor piece. Items have up to 3 slots. In which one of those you can choose your desired upgrade. It's mostly a different balance between the 2 main statistics. For armor pieces, it's armor value and stability. For weapons, it's damage and armor piercing. The more points in craftsmanship you have, the more powerful recipes you can use. And those upgrades are worth your time, doubling your armor values in the early game and still managing to reach around 30% bonus in late game. As for science and consumable crafting, potions, ammo, and alchemical preparations that can be used in various ways. You can throw them to deal AoE damage, you can coat your weapon to make it apply effects on hit, or you can lay a trap with it, making it harder for enemies to reach you. It's much harder to tell how much more powerful you are since you don't increase anything. You gain additional tools to deal with your enemies, and having more tools is always fun. Also guns. In this case, we will create some sleeping pills, cram them into some drinks and hand them to tired from their duty guards. And once they are put to a peaceful sleep, order our men to load the warehouse with our goods and we're done with the coin guards' shenanigans. At least for now. Then, we finish the remaining quests for Teleme, Breach Alliance and Nods. They don't bring any new mechanics. However, they work as a perfect representation of each faction's goals and culture. Teleme asks us to find heretics that hide in the city. Once we find and question them, we learn that they deciphered an ancient script left by their founder, and it doesn't align with what the Order preaches. So to make sure that the believers were not shaken by the revelation, Order decided to silence the couple. Bridge Alliance has a similar problem, but this time the man in question is an alchemist who ran away from the country because the methods of experimentation became too extreme. He started to sell a panacea that supposedly cures everything, except Malicor. But that's not true. It doesn't treat anything, but tries to cure Malicor. The alchemist desperately tries to find a cure, even if it means casting away morality, just like people he tried to distance himself from. Nodes, however, have a problem with a missing member of their guild. As it turns out, one of their clients decided to kidnap him. The reason for that is that he is the father of the victim and wanted his child back. He regretted his decision to give away his child to Nodes in exchange for their services. Nodes as a guild accept a child as a payment for delivering goods, but they often sign contracts with people that are far away from having the kid. And often, once the baby must be given up, a realization strikes that no money was worth it. In this case, Jonas was traded and grew up on the ships of the Nodes. His mother wanted him back and orchestrated a kidnapping so that the Nodes would leave him behind. However, even Jonas doesn't want to stay with his parents, partially because they locked him up in a cell, from which we have to rescue him. One way or another. With side quests done, we are ready to board the ship and leave for Tier 3D. As we approach our ship, something inside wakes up.
The beast is awoken!
Those conniving, pista-stilling, bridge-building liars. The creature was supposed to be out for days. They'll pay for this.
What the hell manner of cargo are you transporting?
Help! We need ropes! We must contain it! Help!
Come now, let's lend them a hand.
Watch out! Take a step back, sir!
Cut! Captain! Keep my cousin safe!
A monstrosity comes crashing from the ship. We pick up our coin, accept the challenge from the beast, and start the very first boss fight. Which is exciting. A gigantic ferocious beast of unknown origin, about which we know only two things. It came from the island, and it's pissed. Monster has no weapon, so it must resolve to pulling out metal poles out of its body to use as projectiles. You can see its pain in every move it makes, smashing the ground with its entire body, hoping that it will damage you just as much as itself. It's a very good fight, one that sticks out, and not only as a mechanical encounter, it also means something in the game. It's a perfect representation of what's to come on the island. Abuse, enslavement and exploitation of nature. Even though it's majestic and fierce, ultimately, it's frightened and powerless. Serene is a perfect foreshadowing of everything that is to come on the island, down to the bridge experimenting and congregation and much more. It's a perfect show of everything the game has to offer in a confined space. Running arounds, fighting bandits and gigantic monsters, sneaking and impersonating other nations. The gameplay won't change much on Tier 3D. If you haven't enjoyed those 2 hours of gameplay in Serene, it's probably not a game for you. But if you did enjoy it, then the second part of the game will be a pleasant voyage. So let's board the ship and set sail to the native island of Tier 3D. After many months of journey, we arrive at New Serene, Congregation's main city on Tier 3D, and I have to say that the city is done dirty. There's no introduction to it. Unlike the cities of Hikmet and San Mateos, New Serene does not have a beautiful shot that would show how it looks. Even Old Serene had a vantage point from which we could observe how the city fares. But here, we are thrown from the view of the entire island, right into the port of the city, and only when we leave the city outskirt and look back, we can see how it's still being developed. It's still actively built, construction cranes tower above the governor's palace. Scaffoldings and building materials from a nearby mine can still be seen around the city. We are new to this island, greeted with baleful concoction and Lady Lorraine of Morash, former governor of the island. For somebody that has to give up a powerful position, she's nice. Unlike Morash, Vasco doesn't take it well that he has been laid off. His admiral orders him to join our crew, replacing Constantine as our second party member. Just like Kurt, he likes to get personal. Unlike Kurt, he doesn't shy away from firing his iron piece. So where to go now? We still have to finish Kurt's quest. He must report to Quartermaster Manfred. I love this man. An honest guard. And well, our job still ain't over. Long story short, we are asked to locate the crates and mark them. And that's when Vasco butts in and tells us where those crates are.
My ship's being used to move your contraband, and now you want to sneak into one of our warehouses.
Kurt was given the order. If we want to help him, we don't have a choice.
I don't like this. But, since I've been sacked, let's just say that this will be a little bit of revenge.
How are we to know in which warehouse we'll find this damn cargo?
I'm afraid we're going to have to take a look at all of them.
That won't be necessary. My entire cargo has been placed in the warehouse closest to my ship. And if you wouldn't mind wearing some Nort clothing, we'll be less suspicious. I would like to avoid fighting with my own. The Norts are my family.
This is the first introduction to companion reactions. They react to the world and our decisions if they are present in the moment, and the world very often reacts as well. Hikmet's palace guard will not let us through if we have a Teleme companion. A native companion will react with anger if we don't ridicule inquisitors in front of the Teleme palace. Companions that know stuff can be asked to help us in the dialogues. And I love it. We start to select our team depending on where we're going. It adds to the diplomatic nature of the game. We pick companions based on their ability to fight, both with their hands as well as their minds. We mark the crates, and then we get another quest from Manfred. I might not like Manfred that much, and I don't even have a chance to say no. My character agrees on its own. We'll come back to that quest later. After a bit of roaming around the city, we end up in front of the palace, with someone trying to get inside.
Atuai, sien sradi dau quint. Da dagudach me in.
Attention, soldier!
Let me pass. I must see the chief of your village. Whatever could be so funny.
Now, who would you be to seek an audience with the governor?
I am Siora, daughter of Bladnid. My mother is Amal, the chief of our clan. I am here as an emissary of my people, and I must see your chief, your governor.
So you are a princess, then?
A what?
Let her pass! Your Majesty, I shall present you to the governor. Come.
Princess, Majesty, you are most confusing. But thank you for your help.
Siora, she tries to speak to us in her language because we look like one of their Menawi. It's because of the green thing on our face. And their language completely made up. Spiders invented the thing just for this game. That's awesome. Anyway, Siora's clan has a problem with Breach Alliance. They are at war with them and could use some help negotiating a treaty. It seems important, so let's do that. Before we are able to leave, we are stopped by Sir de Concilion. He gives us 2 side quests: secure camps around the island and find notes left by some professor. Those quests serve as a way to make the player explore places a bit more. Neither of them really give a lot in terms of gameplay, it's a completionist thing. But only one of those quests gives you an achievement. The second one, the notes, which can only be completed just before the end of the game, do not. It's the camps that give the achievement. In terms of gameplay itself, you receive nothing important. Some gold, a laughable amount of experience, nothing more. This quest spits on you for doing it. I hate it. Once we're out of the town, we can see for the very first time in the game the beauty of nature. And it is beautiful. The colors are just so gorgeous. Sun-kissed meadows with an enormous volcano in the background. It's such a vivid scene. After spending around 2 hours in this sick yellow painted metropolis, it's refreshing to be able to see stars on the night sky. As we venture into Siora's village, we even start to see more green leaves on the trees. I can almost smell the fresh grass. This game grasps with its display of nature's beauty. So you better look. For Siora's mother, for starters, as she left a bit before our arrival. She wants to spill blood, and it's best if we catch up to her and not let that happen. We follow her wake, fight some fauna repeatedly, because they reset as soon as I walk a little bit too far. And by too far, I mean whenever I try to reach the enemy that is fighting with my companion, because the game tracks my position to determine if we are in fight or we chilling, and our companions can just pull the enemies outside the leash range, making the fight reset, and it's annoying as fuck. We catch up too late to stop the fight, so we join in to take the frustration out on the Breach Alliance.
You are too late, Siora. Mother has fallen, and we are defeated. No, no, no. This is not fair!
I am so sorry.
Who is this man? He resembles one of us, but is dressed like a Renaigze.
I am the ambassador of the Congregation of Merchants. I'm sorry for your loss.
The congregation? And what side are you on in this war? Those that massacre our people? Essel, calm down. You know that Mother sent me to seek out allies. You show up when the fight was nearly over. Was this part of your plan? You know that these monsters are taking our own. They must make honorable amends.
Oh, fuck. I have to load autosave and change my HUD to the intuition one, so that I won't have to fight the natives and lose reputation. This will happen a lot in the game if you want to force better outcomes despite not having everything you need. Later in the game you will often load a save from before mob yapping happens, make your way to nearby camp, change your companions and gear, and then go back to the place you were in to proceed. I hate it. I hate those kind of systems that give you something for having an item on you and make it tedious to use them. Seriously, if I wanted to max everything I would have to change clothes every 2 minutes. It's tedious. That's why I hate it. Why games don't have systems where you have different outfits for different things? Or just give me the perks in a way that doesn't require me to micromanage my equipment to be able to proceed with the outcome I want and I can have. Or just not do those items in the first place. Fuck. At least I can take it out on the bridge again. Mother is nowhere to be found on the battlefield. We learn that she was taken to the bridge outpost. We'll go there later. First, we learn more about the ruins we're inside. And by learn more, I mean nothing. We learn that the ruins exist, and after mentioning it to Constantine, he tells us to find more. Lady Morange tells us that there are other ruins above the mines, so we go there, fight a gigantic tentacle face, learn that we were the previous invaders on the island. Yeah. We report our findings to Constantine, and his only regret is that he didn't know. He asks if we have met the other governors, which we didn't, so let's do that. First, let's visit San Mateus. It's a typical Renaissance city in which you better believe, or else.
Renounce your gods! Answer me.
Why? Why are you doing this?
Behold your so-called gods. You are demons. They burn. They are nothing. You shed tears for this creature while your heart should be full of joy, welcoming the light. Forget your pagan foul teachings. Embrace the true faith.
You are mad.
Renounce your gods!
Inquisitor?
You.
Yeah, you better believe in the Enlightened. If you can't say that you are a legate of Congregation of Merchants. Golden Sun is everywhere, on flags, buildings, pavement, in the sky.
Young man. Pardon me.
Petrus is our next companion. He specializes in range combat with magic rings, as well as digging up dirt on everything that moves. He loves politics. He will have plenty of occasions to show that. Together with Petrus, we go to Cardinal Mother Cornelia and introduce ourselves. Then, we head out for Hikmet. It's a city. I don't know anything about southern cities. We talk to the Bridge Alliance Governor Buhan. Once that's done, we go back to Constantine and report. Then we can start the next main quest. Help Hikmet with their missing scientists, help Telema with the demonic cult, or investigate what's the deal with Congregation on the island. Let's do the last one. We talk to Admiral Cabral and she will spill the beans, but first we need to help her. Classic. Her quest is quite simple. Go to Teleme, find out what's the deal with Inquisition, learn the truth behind the Nodes magic, beat up some Inquisitors, learn what's the true deal with Inquisitors, and lastly, rat them out to Mother Cornelia. This quest teaches us 3 things. First, Nodes really love their secrets, to the point of selling other factions misinformation about their usage of magic to traverse the ocean. In reality, they use simple science. 2. Inquisitors are hellbent on converting everything that moves into believers, or burn everyone that won't acknowledge their god. And lastly, we're adopted.
As our investigation was leading us to imagine, the congregation did once attempt to colonize the island. The Norts discovered it some 2 centuries ago, and brought our people here a few decades later. But the enterprise to colonize the island failed completely. There were a great many bloody battles. Few colonists survived. The princes preferred to hide their defeat, and paid the Norts to keep the secret.
That they hid the fiasco from the world, I get. But that my father said nothing about it to me.
That's not the most shocking part of the story, believe me.
What do you mean?
The congregation continued to make expeditions to the island with the help of the Norts. According to the Admiral, my mother came from the island and was brought back. I was born on one of their ships.
What? But... that means you are not
your dear cousin? No. All the lies we've been fed since our tender childhood. The fable told that I'm the spitting image of my dead father, lost during an expedition. God, I don't know what to think, Constantine. Why did they do that to me?
I don't know. It's another one of their sly and dark orchestrations. Some vile intrigue. If it is of some comfort, no matter the true story, you will always be my dear cousin. You have always been the only one to care for me. You are my only friend. That's all that matters to me. Keep this discovery between us. No one needs to know. My aunt adopted you after all.
We're originally from Verdyh, born on Naut's ship, our mother, a captured native, our father, a dead native. In general, this makes understanding our existence problematic. Later we'll be able to learn a bit more, but I still don't like how those bits fit together. People that knew of that whole fiasco on the continent played this spectacle for some reason, and this reason is never truly answered. We get some leads as to what it could have been. It's possible that the prince thought that we could be a very useful political figure in the talks with the natives, since we bear the mark of an Almenawi. We are quite important to the ingenious people. But this theory is only hinted by Constantine. We never got any quest from the prince himself. We're on the island only to find a cure for Malicor, and if there's a second, more secret mission for the expedition, then who knows about it? Constantine is a constant disappointment, so he surely doesn't know anything, and aside from other governors, we only follow his orders about what to unveil on the island. I don't believe that the prince would be okay with that happening. So why give us to his sister? The only real reason I can think of is pure guilt. Our adopted father died on the expedition, probably bankrolled and kept secret by the prince himself. So it's completely possible that he felt like he needs to make amends for that, deciding to give her a child that now she will never have with her long-gone husband. Regardless of the reason, our foster mother grows to us and raises us like her own. And when it's time to say goodbye, she gives us the coin. It's a heirloom of our true family given to us by our foster mother. Now, the coin has 2 faces. On one side, we are a merchant from the continent, on the other, a native from the island. This makes the coin a foreshadowing, our role of creating an alliance with the natives. With this knowledge, the Guardian fight also gets a new meaning. It becomes a foreshadowing of Constantine's downfall and our fight with him. At the beginning, the coin represented our connection to the merchants, since we didn't know what it really was. But now, we understand the true origin of it. When we pick up that coin, we represent the natives, our true family. But why the monster would represent Constantine? I believe there are 2 reasons for that. First is the appearance. This guardian is unique. There are no more guardians on the island that look like it, with its quite long mouth and yellow eyes. To me, it resembles a fox. And foxes are quite universally portrayed as greedy, which would tie the monster to greedy merchants. The second reason are those yellow eyes. There is quite a focus on those eyes. Yellow, like the coins on the banner of the congregation. During our time on the island, we learned that the native people call us Yellow Eyes. To be more precise, they call us
the Lugaid Blau.
which translates into yellow eyes. Not yellow sun, coins, oranges or circles, but eyes. For some reason, developers decided to make them call the congregation Yellow Eyes. So, assuming that the yellow eyes in the cutscene could be a metaphor for congregation is in my opinion valid. With the knowledge from the island, this fight gains a new, second meaning. I love this. I love how this coin, despite not appearing later on, is used here. It's enough for me to justify its existence. Wait, Constantine will get sick? What?
I'm going to die.
No, Constantine.
I will die, like your mother, and the others on the continent. I'm dying. I don't want to die. I don't. Not so soon. It's so good. Cousin, I don't want...
Constantine, I'm here. Pull yourself together. Out. Everyone out. It's an order.
Thank you, cousin.
There now. Are you better?
I don't know. You won't leave me, will you?
I'm going to find a cure, I promise you.
Didn't you promise the same thing to your mother? You know I'll be dead before you find one.
Don't say that. I will succeed. I've already some promising trails to explore.
I don't know, cousin. The tidings are so awfully dire. I'm afraid. I'm so afraid. I doubt the reason for your visit was to console me in my tragedy. Tell me, what brings you here? Kurt, what is... What's going on? Is there something wrong?
Coin guards! The time has come.
But... what is this?
Ready arms.
Kurt, what are you doing?
Aim!
Stop that, soldiers! Lower your weapons, now!
Sorry, Greenblood.
Fight with honor.
On guard. Ascent draw!
Coin guards with Kurt on the front betrayed us. He has enough honor to stand to the last duel.
Stop it, Kurt! Wait!
It doesn't really matter which choice we make. Kurt dies anyway.
It's over. You are defeated. You have no honor.
The remaining soldiers drop their weapons and leave, and we must regroup, lead Constantine to safety, and load the last story autosave. I specifically rushed the game to make sure that this happens, to show one of my main problems with the game. This part of the story will happen no matter what we do before. However, it is possible to spare Kurt, and in fact, because of how the game is made, the vast majority of people didn't even know that it's possible for him to die. Among 21% of people who have achievement for finishing this part of the game, only 4% have the achievement given for killing him. That makes me quite confident that most of the people did save him, and it's not hard. All you have to do is to care to play the game. Just finish his companion quest and he'll join you instead of betraying. That's it. Just care enough about the game and side quests that pop up, and everything in this game will be fine. The first playthrough I played, I missed every single dramatic point in the story, because I cared enough to do everything. Only later did I learn that Kurt can in fact betray you. To have this happen, you really must be bored by the game and just want to continue with the main plot. You must be uninterested in everything that happens around you, because the game tries extra hard to make sure that you won't miss anything. Like I mentioned before, side quests start on their own. Your character just accepts them. Companion quests will have the pop-up above your allies to notify you that they want something. And you will see that pop-up repeatedly, because every time you travel, you go through the camp, where you see all your companions. You really have to try extra hard not to do those quests. So, let's not go to Constantine and instead lend a hand to Kurt. Kurt wants to make sure that the royal guards are top notch. One of his recruits came to tier 3D way before we did. He wants to meet up with him to check if he fits the bill. However, after talking to Manfred, we learn that the kid died recently, drowned, as everybody keeps telling us. But when we look at the body, we learn that he didn't drown. He was beaten quite hard. We dig around to learn more. Basically, the Coin Guards created a special squadron known as Phantom Regiment that is supposed to be an elite squadron for heavy duty. Supposedly, the kid died there during a maneuver. After Kurds locate their main camp, we go there and have a look at it. Nothing seems out of ordinary at the beginning, but recruits are scared to talk. Once we get rid of their lieutenants, one of them spills the beans. And together, with evidence we gather later, we learn that this camp was created to create a special group that would infiltrate all nations, and when the time hits, assassinate all governors to take over. Since we learn about it, it's time to close the camp. We confront and kill the main captain of this base, and close it for good, gaining trust of Kurt in the process. Now, he will join us once the coup d'etat starts. Coup d'etat is a quick sequence. Tell everybody important to hide, send a messenger to both Thelema and Bridge Alliance while killing every guard that stands in our way, then find the commander and apprehend him, causing the coup to fail.
Idiots!
After all that fiasco, our next quest is to find a healer that would ease Constantine's suffering. Siora tells us about a native healer that should be capable of doing that. We go to him, ask for help, and he agrees. After we finish a quest for him. Okay, at this point in the game, we will mostly do quests that will be resolved by running around, being a diplomat and occasionally fighting. Most of people will agree to help us, but first we will have to do a quest for them. In terms of depth, quests are a hit or miss. Some quests, like the main quests for the remaining factions, are there mostly to push the game forward. Explain a bit of the world. Nothing too fancy, basic plot stuff. However, once we look under the hood of the side quests, we'll find a bit more substance. Those on one hand explore how colonization works and what are the consequences of it, but all of them touch on some different aspects of greed as well. They bring into view what greed can cause, as well as highlight the notorious behaviors that are fueled by it. Greed is a complex concept. Some say it's a mother of all sins, most associated with materialism and stinginess. Other people even say that it's a good thing to be greedy, because it drives us forward. It can be hard to agree on what exactly we call greed. All the above points are somewhat true, and I believe that GreedFall does a very good job of highlighting at least a couple of ways greed manifests itself. The most well-known being materialism, which is shown by the congregation of merchants throughout the entirety of the game. It's not just about one or two side quests, it's only right to make it the main part of the game. It's the most recognizable aspect of greed. Let's digest the rest of the factions one by one. Cabral wants us to investigate the disappearance of one of their newly joined member, Alba. We are led to believe that she is a traitor and tries to sell the information about Node's secret. Just as quickly to learn that, we learn that it's not the truth. It's her captain, Ruben, who tries to find the highest bidder among the other factions while also framing Alba. After catching him red-handed, Admiral's fury alone could bury him right where he stands. But we do lend her a hand to keep the secret safe. After that, Cabral admits that she should believe more in people that join her faction rather than treat them as worse than those born as Nodes. To be honest, the part about heritage and being born as Nodes is not the interesting bit to me. What is interesting is the secrecy of Nodes and how greedy it is. To be greedy, a person must not only acquire wealth, but also not spend the already acquired one. In 1998, Bandai Namco patented auxiliary games which the player could enjoy while waiting for the game to load. In February of 2021, Warner Bros. Patented the Nemesis system for Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. Both of these actions do not cause the companies to increase their monetary gains, but I personally would still call them greedy. because they don't let other developers benefit from something they don't use themselves. It stagnates the innovation, since one party can sit on an idea like a dragon on a pile of gold that will never be spent in a shop, but you better keep your hands off if you want to keep them intact. I think it's standard across the globe to attribute lack of generosity and stinginess to greed. During CoinGuard's questline, we will learn that there's a corrupt part of guards that intend on making some money through some dubious means. At first we learn about extortion from merchants, then about goods smuggling, and lastly about slavery. Each member of this group carries a silver coin, and speaking up about the group will get you silenced. To be completely honest, throughout the entirety of this quest line, I had Mentalist in my mind. It just resembled it so much with the way it was created, with the mastermind behind. In case of GreedFall, the mastermind is called Egon, and he is the catalyst of greed. In Mentalist, police is a government institution. They don't do business with external governments to gain money. It's just the lust for power, insecurities, and ego that fuel the Red Baron. In GreedFall, guards have to gain money from external factions. They need to do business with others so that they can operate at all. Merchants as a faction do not care which part of CoinGuards is responsible for extortion. It's not their problem. They pay for protection. And the moment the involvement of guards in extortion and killing of merchants is exposed, is the moment the contract disappears. Simple as that. Egon wants to get as rich as possible and disappear before someone notices what's happening. He doesn't care about the consequences the guards will face as a faction once it's over. He uses people around him as puppets just to get what he wants. Here, greed takes the form of self-interest. Just getting rich wouldn't be a problem if you would achieve that as an honest person, cooperating with other factions and providing extreme value for them in exchange for their wealth. But once he turns the low-down bandit, the only attribute we can describe him with is greed. Governor Burhan informs us about attacks on caravans and asks us to investigate. We learn that they are caused by the natives, and we make sure that this won't be a problem in the future. But the problem doesn't stop. So, we learn a bit more. The natives are aggressive because Bridge Alliance is responsible for captivating a number of natives. In order to prevent an all-out engagement, we have to get them out. While doing that, we learn a bit more about the nature of those disappearances. Professor Asil is trying to find a cure for the Malicor. In the pursuit of it, he turns into a cold and ruthless person that won't stop at anything in order to achieve his goal. Imprisonment of people from all other nations, sadistic experimentation that can be described more as a torture than actual trials, ending on contaminating the healing concoction for Constantine and us when we first docked in New Serene. It was Malicor that the potions were sprinkled with. The Sardea never got sick because he is an Anormenawi. Based on the research, we have a natural resistance to it. Constantine, on the other hand, does not. We turn Asil in after breaking out the captured people from all nations. Then, Asil is brought to justice for his extreme actions. Governor Burhan decides that going forward, they will try their best not to overstep their boundaries in the name of science. Here, greed manifested in total obsession. One of the consequences of greed is lack of control. Greedy people cannot stop seeking their high. If they could, then their action wouldn't really be a problem, since they would stop at the first friction point and reflect what they are causing to other people, or even themselves. But they don't. They never stop to think about what their actions are causing to other people. However, in this case, it's not entirely self-interest that's pushing Asiri. Unlike CoinGuards, his motivation comes from him wanting to help his nation. He wants to heal them from Malicor. That's why this side quest touches on a different aspect of greed. Mother Cardinal informs us that there's a village, New Eden, which is supposed to follow the footsteps of Theleme founder Saint Matthias. They want to recreate a village from ancient scripts, a village in which children of the Enlightened One live together with the native people. The village is also supposed to retrieve and decipher ancient scripts left by Saint Matthias. But there's a problem. The last tablets discovered disappeared. We are tasked to find them. After just a short while in the village, we can tell that the native people didn't really convert and cooperate just so that the Inquisitors will leave them somewhat alone. Some ingenious people were expelled from the village, and it was them who took revenge by stealing the tablets. We can de-escalate the situation and return the tablets. During this quest, we can very clearly see that the Inquisition does not regard the natives highly. After that fiasco, New Eden forms an expedition and ventures into the swamps to locate and dig up more of the St. Matthias' lost relicts. But the expedition has a lot of problems. People are dying in the swamps and the expedition is failing. Once we arrive, we help them out. We learn that the deaths were caused by the Order Luminis themselves. The Inquisitors do not want this expedition to unravel the truth behind their founder, who in fact turned to the natives' deity and heavily changed his ways under its influence. If that was to be disclosed, it would mean tremendous change in how above everybody else the Inquisitors are. Their religion has to be better than the religion of everybody else. Their way has to be the right and the only way, even if it means defying their own founder, killing their own subjects, and treating the remaining factions like dirt. In this case, they feel arrogance and lust for power, which fuels their superiority, which is powered by their greed. We help all factions overcome their greed during our journeys. We teach them that there's a better way, less greedy, while still beneficial. I will come back to greed for the last time just before the game's finale. For now, let's return to Katasach, who accepts our request after completing a side quest for him.
This pain, it'll be the death of me. I can't control my body. It's like being a stranger in a marionette set ablaze, consumed by a smouldering fire. The moment's growing near, isn't it? Am I about to surrender my ghost to the Reaper of Souls? You pop in just when you're needed, cousin, as always. Who are you? Your hand is cold as ice.
Your cousin is burning.
That is such a relief.
Let me present Katisach, Constantine. He is the greatest healer on the island. He will help you.
Please, stay.
I am here for you, Rnaxe, and I will not leave until I found a way to ease your pain and suffering. Fill your mind with the patience of the ocean. I know not how much time I will need. I've never seen such a sickness. The spirits of your lands must be quite horrendous to cast down such evils upon the peoples that live there.
Thank you.
Once Constantine's suffering is taken care of, we rush to find a cure for the Malicor. We help both Theleme and the Bridge Alliance, and the most important part is that we learn about Elmach Frictiman, the god of Thousand Faces, who could help us. We also meet Afra, our last companion, who represents the Bridge Alliance. She's also a gunner, but like I said before, range in this game is an illusion, so she face tanks enemies left and right anyway. Constantine disappears. We learn that it's the High King of the natives who abducted him. We kill him, and Constantine changes. Katasach performs a ritual on him, binding him to the island and the thousand-faced god. He is now capable of surviving the Malicor, but while he will survive, the Malicor is still a problem. We go meet natives' deity. From it, we learn that it's the worked-up ground itself that poisons people. The continent is an exploited mass of land, earth split in half to retrieve minerals and stone, meadows turned into farms, rivers filled with corpses. The continent tries to defend itself by poisoning the people on it. It's something that can be seen from a mile away. What I really love is the attention to detail around the cities. Serene is an image of decay and the rot, crumbling walls of the city filled with sick yellow air. When we get to New Serene, we are for the first time greeted by some form of flora. Red, late fall leaves coming from the trees fill our view, but we can already see the exploitation. Trunks of trees scatter around San Mateus, and as we venture into the land, we can see more and more green, often whole forests. And I feel like it's one of the way of exploring the seasons. It's somewhat consistent for the title. Places that are exploited are in late fall, leaves on the ground, trees already ready for hibernation. Then, when we reach the outskirts of island, we can see most of the vegetation in the middle of fall. Red leaves are present, but they are still on the trees. And when we venture into the land, we can spot the greens in places far away from the greedy eyes of people from the continent. I believe that while it is sometimes inconsistent, it is a very cool idea to have the seasons and nature represent the humans that inhabit it. After all that, we learn that both Hikmet and Teleme are under the assault of beasts. We look what's causing it, and we learn that it's caused by corrupted guardians. The nature is sick and attacks everything in its sight. Then it's revealed that it's Constantine who's doing it, and we have to stop him. So we gather all allies from the continent, gather our friend, equip them with the corresponding unique gear. What? Where's the unique captain gear? Where is it? This is the last comment from the game about greed. To get all unique gear available in the game, we must not help the nations, and instead decide to just grab the items from them instead of forging an alliance. You need their help if you want to get the best ending, but you don't need their wealth, you need their friendship. As lame as it sounds. Look, it's my personal taste. I hate the power of friendship kind of stuff. However, I did enjoy reading comments about how it sucks not to be able to get everything in the game, that the player must choose between getting all unique items and the best ending. It filled me with awe to see the comments of people that played the game and experienced all of the notorious aspects of greed and still more about how you cannot be greedy in this game and get everything. Just like all of the factions you help in the span of the game, you too must resist the lust for completion. I personally found this to be the greatest commentary of how players can become filled with greed. Throughout this part of the game, the Verdyh believes that Constantine must be out of his mind and it's the Malicor that speaks through him, that it was never his intention. But I beg to differ. I believe that he always had those ambitions. As careful as he might have wanted to be with his words, he would occasionally slip and show his true colors.
An island to govern?
Not really an island, only one city.
Father never once even hinted. Once again, he must have deemed me unworthy to know the secret. How he must despise me.
Right, the most important part of all of it is not that the old ways were wrong. The only issue Constantine has here is that he didn't know and was left behind. Everything was foreshadowed. Our true heritage, running around to other nations for Constantine, finding and rescuing him because he was abducted, and in the end, killing the fiend. I really enjoyed playing GreedFall. It's not a masterpiece, but it does explore the many aspects of greed. Not just materialism, but other, more intricate ones as well. I found it very interesting to learn about colonization just to understand this game a bit more. For me, it was a perfect 7 out of 10 game. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to support me, leave a comment. Maybe there was something frustrating in the way this video was made, and I can do better next time. Have a good one.